Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Partnerships for Profit. I'm your host, Ana Del Rio, and this week we're joined by Rashida Forbes, founder of RF Legal Support and senior paralegal with nearly 20 years of experience across foreclosure, evictions, and civil litigations. From New York to Georgia, Rashida has built a reputation for precision leadership and mentoring new paralegals while growing her own freelance business. We'll dive into her career journey and tools that make freelancing possible and how women in leadership can leverage social media for real results. Hi, Rashida.
Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for being on today's show. I'm so happy to talk to you. So let's just jump right in. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, your journey into the legal field, and what ultimately led you to becoming a freelance paralegal?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the introduction. But like you said, I have always had a desire to be in the legal field. Growing up as a underprivileged kid, I watched my family struggle with legal representation, but also really hammering it out and having the ability to kind of maneuver their way through a legal system that was not really meant for, certain groups of people. So with that as my background, it really led me to want to be in the legal field in some capacity. So, like you said, I'm a New York native. I went to John Jay College of Criminal Justice. I wanted to be a criminal justice major, but as you learn the ropes, you kind of learn, I don't know if I have the gut for that.
Yeah.
Yes, I shied away from that a little bit respectfully, but I then moved into more of the civil litigation side, just really learning every aspect of it, from the start of a lawsuit to the end of it, to the big nooks of it, to the litigation, working in different law firms in different capacities. And, really just always loving that legal atmosphere is what ultimately led me to become a freelance paralegal, because I started realizing, listen, we could do this on our own. We do have that capacity to not necessarily be structured in that same in-house paralegal type, industry that everybody just assumed was the right way. So I just kind of saw that niche where I started to notice we could do this on our own. It really was a matter of absorbing, again, a lot of what the attorneys do, but then making it work for us as a freelancer,
That's great. Could you actually explain to us what exactly is a paralegal?
Yeah, I love that question because I get that a lot, and you would be surprised, right? We've been around forever, let's just say, but I like to tell you the short version, which is we are the nurses of the legal field.
I was gonna ask that. I was gonna ask. I'm like, you guys are basically the nurses of the. Yes.
Spot on.
So much sense.
Yes, we are there for the attorneys. If they need the scalpel, or AKA a pleading, we need to have it. You know what I mean? We need to know the in-depth understanding of what was going on with the case, what's going on with the client, because they're going to ask us, So we're literally right next to them for every step of the case. And you never heard about us. It's so funny. It's like, never even heard about us, but we have been there literally giving them, and not way before Erin Brockovich, if anybody remembers that.
I do. I do actually. Oh, wow. I love that explanation. I mean, you're like the support system 1,000% on, when it comes to.
We're the ones doing a lot of the grit and grind for you guys to really make sure that we get the result we need.
I love it. Okay, so going from New York to Georgia, what was the biggest adjustment?
Honestly, that Georgia moves fast, which you wouldn't assume, being that it's, the South.
Oh.
Yeah, people assume, we move slower down here in a lot of other aspects, but when it came to certain things, it was like 7 days turnover, 30 days. Let's move, from New York, California, all those industries, you got a little bit of grace period, Not that they don't have time frames either. Obviously, all courts have designated time frames. But yeah, Georgia moved a lot faster than I thought in certain aspects. I don't want to say that's in all of it, but a lot of the industries that I kind of came into, like eviction, foreclosure, it moved way faster than I assumed. So it was a lot of upkeep in terms of just, from the start, 7 days. What? 7 days? Now we have, we have a judgment already.
What do you mean? Yeah, no, I get it. Like, why Georgia? Like, what made you decide I'm literally gonna go from like this huge, fast-paced, intense New York, Big Apple, you know what I'm saying? But to go to Georgia, where in Georgia are you, by the way?
Yeah, we're in Atlanta. So
Okay,
pretty much
ATL,
right in the
got it.
epicenter. Yep, right in the epicenter where everything happens. I needed a little bit of city still. I couldn't really just go
Yeah.
completely out to the country. No
Yeah.
disrespect, but I definitely needed my city life still. And that's a great question as well. I did have a mentor in New York. So he was a probate attorney who works, downtown in the financial district. And I loved that every other morning, having that feel. And, he did kind of, yeah, he pointed out a few things where he was like, think about it. A lot of people are coming to New York from other countries, from other states to live that dream. So your competition is huge, right? And you don't think about that. Like you said, you just think it's the, Big Apple, you'll find it. He was like, if you really think about expanding and just kind of, the legal field in general, going to different states are going to get you there faster, and I will admit that was a pretty good little bit of nugget for me, so that was what really kind of started to push me, because I'm like, you're right, people are coming from all over the world to New York. Like, imagine that pool of competition being, magnified. But let's say, who's really coming to Atlanta, like at the time,
unless they've lived here, unless they've lived in,
right.
You're like, hey, Atlanta might be the next step. It might be a little toned down, a little bit, but you still
a
get
little bit.
the best.
You still get city life. Yeah, you still get little city life and everything. So yeah, it was really his advice. That was kind of like, if you're really looking for, growth and understanding of what the law is about and stuff, you might just want to think about venturing out because it's competitive up here. And I was like, that is kind of true, And then at the time, everybody was kind of branching out. All my friends were moving out of the country, but I just said I moved to the country. So
that's adorable. I love that. I moved to the country. I'm out of the country. Yeah, that very different.
Very different.
Do you find that in Atlanta, Georgia, that you're able to find more of like your niche, your like what you're trying to find? Maybe I should ask it a different way.
Yeah.
Who are your people? Like, who's your like ideal, client? Who are the people that you help?
I mostly help attorneys, that have left big law and want to kind of branch out and do their own thing, but they don't know the ropes yet because they're kind of stuck in a pattern of like, they had a staff full of people or they did everything with the system. So they don't even know, but they just know they want to branch out from that world. And this is what they're looking to do. So my ideal clients are the ones that have left a, systematic understanding of what law firm is. And they're just kind of looking for help, getting themselves out there, getting themselves a system, developing, their own kind of niche and everything else. And that's where we come in because we have that experience and understanding. And we just love working with, go-getters and people that just want to do something for themselves,
Yeah, good. I'm glad that you actually brought that up when it pertains to systems because I'm curious and I'm sure that some viewers are as well. Like, what software and tools have been absolute game changers when it comes to your freelance business?
Oh man, see, I tell my girls anyway, when I work, like I am a mobile person, as you know, my laptop, my phone, anything that has an app. So a lot of firms use a lot of case management systems, Filevine is big for people. If it has an app and we could do things on the go, that is pretty much like crutch, calendar links so that I don't have to kind of go back and forth with you all day. If you want to like just kind of link up with me and these times are free, you put that on there and we keep going. I also love things like Airtable. I used to use them a lot. They were an app that really just kind of like helped you get organized in terms of calendaring what you need. If you have, an idea that you kind of want to sideline for a moment, but you don't want to forget it. It was like, an engrossed notes app. You could color
okay.
coordinate. Yeah, you could color coordinate. You could send it to people. I'm also a big Evernote lover. I don't know if you guys do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Familiar, yes.
Especially when I got assigned tasks and stuff, again, because it's mobile for me, like a lot of things, as long as that app is good where I can sit there and kind of do things on the fly because I have, conversations going on with other people. I will say Ring Central as well. And I'm giving you guys all the nuggets.
Yeah.
You guys are
they're getting, that's fine. Thank you.
Ring Central is fun for firms that need some type of, telecommunications, but it does help us when we are, I'm not really big on Slack. I know.
It's such a fun app.
I know. I'm not. It's overwhelming for me. So
there's so many like little bots or whatever that you can add to Slack. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
Lost me. I was like,
yeah, a little too much. All right. So what advice would you give someone who is considering going into the freelance, like legal industry?
Such a good question. Really, yeah. My biggest advice is to always pay attention to detail. That is a golden skill for paralegals in general. And really understand the business side of it, because you may understand how to be a paralegal, but you also have to learn how to run a business. You're going to be asked certain questions from your potential clients that are more business-based than paralegal. They're not going to ask you, okay, so what do you do if this, pleading gets filed? They're asking you about your finances, your turnaround time, real business-based questions. So anyone that's looking to go freelance, I would advise to really learn the business side of it and to pay attention to detail, but then also have fun with it. It is yours. So I want people to remember that too, that it's yours. You can make it whichever way you want it to go. Do not follow any other body's trend. If that works for you, cool, but have fun with it and just be able to, understand that it is a business. So
you're saying that it can be fun.
It can be fun. That's actually one of my pillars for my company, to have fun, right?
I love that. That's important, very important. So now I'm kind of curious as to, the legal industry, let's just be honest. It's not really a field that you would consider as like, oh yeah, that's fun,
Stress, burnout, alcoholism, top of the chain, right? For legal,
right?
The chain.
Exactly. So could you, honestly, give me an idea or maybe a fun story about that you have that sticks with you and that could actually enhance that statement or back up that statement that you're making, so that people are not shying away from it so much,
Yeah, for me, like I said, fun is going to be the first thing that we do. So, I like to crack jokes. Sometimes the attorney is in a serious mood, and I'll say, "Hey, good morning, Grouchy." At a certain level, you kind of just, you have to change the narrative sometimes when they're really in that strict, mode. And then honestly, 9 out of 10 times they come back with their laughing or they're like, my bad, it breaks their mold too, because maybe they just got off the phone with somebody that was just chewing them out, and they're just transgressing that to you. And you're just like, okay, Grouchy, hold on.
Yeah.
So I even like to I'm big into movies, so I like to say quotes to see if people kind of love, so I'll be like, did we just become best friends?
I swear I was just about to say that. Every time somebody says music lyrics, I was telling my friend the other day, I was like, I think in music lyrics.
Yeah.
Right. So if I hear a lyric and I continue, if my neighbor or somebody's not doing the same,
right, you're like,
start a little, yeah.
You didn't pick that one up, okay?
No. My bad. Okay.
Movie and lyrics, 100%. So I like to throw those in there with them too, when they're really serious, and it's just kind of like, okay, let's just calm down a little bit.
Yes, so much of life is taken too seriously, and but there's a time and a place, obviously. And I no doubt that you are on it. You professional, beautiful woman. Absolutely, you know what I'm saying? Keeping it professional. But there is time it's like, okay, this is not a time that we need to be so
This is
grumpy.
not a time.
Let's chill. Let's enjoy life.
And even when I was in house, listen, you see so much anxiety, stress. People are just like, breathing in bags because they forgot something. And you're just like, it's okay. Like I just want them to understand, it's an emergency, but it can be fixed. The beauty is we're not really nurses. There is
Yeah.
one at operation table. It's a
Right.
lot going on, but we can usually correct it. So you got to break it up with some type of humor, some type of fun, just to kind of get people's mind out of all the stress that comes with the legal field. So yeah, I live for that because listen, what you're not going to do is not have fun when you're with me. Okay.
Oh, everybody hear that? So now I'm curious because you stated that you're really helping like the newer attorneys that are branching out from the big firms and really just need help, getting started and things like that.
Yeah.
So I guess that I'm curious, is it all within the same realm of law, like arena type PI, personal injury, things like that, or is it just across the board? You guys specialize in
I like to stay within maybe PI or just
Okay.
civil litigation with, construction law. I'll tell you, I really try to stay away from family law. So kudos to those that are in it, just because it is very, emotional. People are very emotion based. So where my jokes come in, it's not going to work. So, so I just know I stay away from that a little bit, premise liability, slip and falls, things to that nature, kind of where we stay at in a nice little realm, evictions, foreclosures, things like that. I do have a team of paralegals and girls that help me. So some of them prefer those. And that's when I'm like, hey, all yours, elderly, all yours.
Okay, great. So you do branch out into the other, what do they call it in the legal field when it's a specialty?
Yeah.
Same thing. Why? I don't know why my brain was not wanting to think of that word. Okay, I got it. Yes.
That's
man. Exactly. So now, just kind of regarding social media, like how do you measure the real impact of your social media content? Like beyond the likes and shares, and like what are some ways like women in leadership essentially could turn follows into measurable income?
Yeah. I appreciate that. So for me, and it's again, quick, funny story. I was never really big into social media because of my legal background, right? Like I know on the defense side, what we do to try to find you, disclaimer, yes, everything is discoverable. So I wasn't really big into it. But when I decided that this was, again, going to be my business, I wanted to make it mine, and however I could do it. I didn't want to follow other trends and stuff like that. So for me, I approach social media like I would in person or in conversation. So if you're, liking or having a comment, I usually respond, like, or a happy face, because that's what I would do in New York on the streets. If somebody's got an attitude, you just, okay, whatever.
Hey.
Exactly. Right. Somebody smile at you, like, hey, what's up? So I approached it in that same way. And what I'm finding is that it is measurable in terms of when I see people in person, they're like, that's you, or I talk to you and I'm the same way, so for me that's measurable because you're getting what I was trying to put out there, just myself in my normal capacity on a stage that I didn't really necessarily feel comfortable with, but if I was going to be on it, I was going to do it my way. So I kind of just see it where people actually do, if they see me in person, they're like, we're Instagram friends, and we truly are. So when we meet, we really are just connecting because we've had honest conversations, or because of those honest conversations, they've referred me to somebody, and that person becomes a client. So it does happen and it works. And for me, I'm just trying to be that genuine person that you see behind those pictures and in person,
Well, I must tell you, you seem extremely genuine. I have thoroughly enjoyed this. Do me a favor and tell people where they can essentially find you.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. On Instagram, I am RF Legal Support. You can find us on the web. It's at www.rflegalsupport.com. LinkedIn, you can find me under my name, Rashida Forbes. We are on Facebook as well. Like I said, we try. Listen, I'm not on TikTok yet. Everybody's trying to get me on this TikTok wave, and I told you already, I'm not 100% a social media person, but you won't find me on TikTok, but maybe through somebody else. So
you'll be there one day. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. Oh man,
put me on there somehow.
What other like little nugget would you say that you'd like to leave, our viewers with? Any kind of advice or just a fun anecdote or anything like that? Would you say?
I like that. For me, honestly, like you said, being your true self is really what gets you noticed. I just want people in all industries to just realize the importance of really grounding yourself, finding out who you are, and don't, let anybody else change that. For years, people would always be like, oh, she giggles at everything. And I'm like, yeah, because I'm happy.
Sometimes I feel like I laugh at the wrong times and I'm like, but it's not, I don't, it's my personality.
Right? Like at first you're kind of like, I guess I shouldn't, but then you kind of just,
right.
It is what it is, right? Like
it is what it is.
I'm happy and that's what works for me. And I find that even through business, through life, it is just one of those nuggets that if that's who you are, that's okay. If you don't like me giggling and having fun, you could go sit in another corner, like exactly. Have fun here. So I would just say, be yourself.
Don't let anybody dim that light of yours,
That's right. Find that light and stay in it,
Absolutely. All right, Rashida, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed talking to you. And to be honest, we could have let this go on for a whole hour. You know what I mean? Because I feel like we would end up being best friends.
We are.
But we are. And I will go and follow you on all your social media. So, wait for it. All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for watching. And I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Partnerships for Profit. You guys have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.